I have a couple questions specifically about identifying these
Sure.
skills that you can bring out and use. So, the first question is, do you focus more on what your superpower and strengths are? Or do you focus more or equally on what their strengths and superpowers are? Because they're going to be different than you.
Both. I would try to contribute what I could, but I would also identify what they showed an affinity for.
Mm.
So, as an example, my son has multiple talents. My daughters have multiple talents. They all showed some sort of an affinity towards something. Most of the time, I have no talent in these areas. So I would find someone who did so that they could explore their talents. And this is when the parents become executive producers.
Mm.
And you're in charge of making sure they get to their appointment on time. You're in charge of watching to make sure everything remains enjoyable, because if it's not fun, then it's not worthwhile after a while.
Hmm.
And I would cut it if I saw that it had reached its plateau. As the executive producer, you keep time. As the executive producer, you make sure that your child is growing and enjoying. So even if it wasn't my specialty or my superpower and they showed an affinity, I did my best to give them an opportunity to take it as far as they could.
That's amazing. I love that idea of you being the executive producer for their lives, helping them smoothly create the screenplay of their own life, not you saying, I love to write. So that means you're going to love to write. But at the same time, still helping them become better at that specific thing, even if it's not their superpower, because you understand the value that being a better writer will give them later in their life. You understand the value of helping them learn how to move their body and dance, which is something that I was taught or shown how to do early in my life. Like, I'm musical, but dancing is one of those things where I frequently hear myself say, I'm not a dancer. I don't dance. But the reality is, I probably don't dance because I say those things and I have that belief, but I can do other things musically. So why hold that belief? And what you're doing with the power of public relations and your skills and all that is building belief above all in your children that you can express many different talents and skills and gifts, and you can express them in many different ways at the same time. So it's very powerful what you're sharing here.
I think what was important along the way was that the kids learned how to succeed and the kids learned how to fail and
Mm.
then try again. Resilience was a big thing. Better to try, and if it doesn't work out, find another way. Just re-strategize and try again. Very, very simple. Not everything's a direct line. Sometimes we have to zigzag to get from point A to point B. And that was a constant theme at our house. Sometimes they would get it right the first time. Sometimes it took a couple tries. And guess what? Both were fine.